Just going back to the sombrero, you said that the president's joking, but Hakeem Jeffries says that these memes were racist. What's your response to that? And just if I may briefly go off topic, Secretary Hegseth yesterday made an edict about no more beardos in the military. Just wondered what...
Sorry, what did he say?
Beardos.
Beards.
Sorry, that's my accent. Just wanted your response to that.
I didn't see that particular comment. I thought Pete gave a hell of a speech, and a speech that really is just oriented around returning the American military to the very high standards that it has had for virtually its entire history until Joe Biden came along and decided to lower standards. I think it was bad for our military, and it was bad for our troops. When I was a young United States Marine, I did not have a beard. I am now the vice president, so I get to do what I want to do. But I think Pete's trying to re-implement high standards, and that's a very good thing. On the sombrero thing, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries said it was racist, and I know that he said that, and I honestly don't even know what that means. Like, is he a Mexican-American that is offended by having a sombrero meme? I mean, I saw one of the major TV stations put the meme up and then say, this is AI generated. And he had like the curly animated mustache too. It's like, do you really not realize the American people recognize that he did not actually come to the White House wearing a sombrero and a black curly animation mustache? Like, give the country a little bit of credit. We're all trying to do a very important job for the American people. The President of the United States likes to have a little bit of fun when he's doing it, and I think that's okay.
As you go about your daily life and your normal activities, you're probably encountering more and more people who have completely forgotten that the federal government's been shut down for upwards of 3 weeks now. Because the longer the thing goes on, in spite of the best efforts of the Democrats to clutch their pearls and scream at the clouds and insist it's a gigantic crisis, the more normal people in the real world start realizing, wow, if the federal government went away entirely, like forever, it really wouldn't affect me very much at all. You know, maybe those small government conservatives have been right about everything this whole time. And yes, it is an inherently self-defeating look when the Democrats shut down the government and then vote in the Senate every day to keep the government shut down, and then run to the TV cameras and claim the government shutdown is an intolerable crisis that is harming millions of Americans. Well, which one is it, Democrats? If it's a terrible thing, why did you do it in the first place? If millions of Americans are being harmed by it, why does your side keep voting to continue the shutdown? And most importantly, if this thing is such a pressing emergency, how come most of your congressional delegation is currently ensconced in a 5-star Napa Valley resort sipping $100 glasses of wine while listening to consultants read out focus group data? Specifically, focus group data that say the public views your party as a bunch of out-of-touch affluent elites who would rather sit in a resort listening to readouts of focus group data than go talk to actual voters. And who can imagine why they think that? It's a real mystery. It's Friday the 17th of October. This is Curmudgeon's Corner. From high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where yesterday Hakeem Jeffries made me laugh so hard my sombrero nearly fell off. Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner. Let's talk about what happens when you lose elections. Now, normally, traditionally, when you lose an election as badly as the Democrats lost last year, the usual first step on the road to political recovery is to get rid of your congressional leaders, recalibrate your platform and your messaging, and pretty much wipe the slate clean and go back to the drawing board, because what you've been doing clearly doesn't work. I mean, just look around you. You fake impeached Donald Trump twice during his first term as president. You tried to frame him as a Russian intelligence asset. You spent the next 4 years dumping untold hundreds of millions of dollars into one federal criminal case, 2 special prosecutor investigations, 2 state-level criminal trials, and 2 trumped-up New York civil trials in the hopes that somehow that would all add up to Trump going to prison, and even failing that. When you've got that many fake irons in the fake fire, you're bound to get at least one conviction somewhere, so then you will be able to run the 2024 election on a platform of Trump is a convicted felon. And come on, guys, it's not like the country is going to elect a convicted felon to be president, except they did. And it wasn't close. Oh, and for good measure, you tried to assassinate him twice. So clearly, 0 of the things you did to prevent Trump from becoming president again had the desired effect or anything resembling it. Nor, for that matter, did your continued maniacal embrace of 2020-era racial grievance and sexual politics. The people of the country have been abundantly, overwhelmingly clear on all of this stuff. They don't want dudes playing women's sports. They don't want dudes in the ladies' restroom and the ladies' locker room. They don't give two squirts of piss about your stupid gender identity and your stupid pronouns. They utterly reject the notion that words are violence and normal people should have to change the way they speak their own native language in order to assuage the feelings of mentally ill sex perverts. They are done being browbeaten and shouted down as racists and xenophobes and fascists just because they had the temerity to notice certain verifiable, inarguable facts about the world that you didn't want them to notice. They don't want dangerous criminals roaming the streets preying on the innocent because some woke idiot judge turned them loose again after their first 24 violent felonies out of some dumb misguided desire for restorative justice that originated, as nearly all bad ideas do, in some Ivy League faculty lounge. They don't want their city's public sidewalks to be choked with junkies and vagrants and garbage and human feces that the local Democrat leaders show no inclination to want to clean up. They would like to be able to send their kids to the public schools they pay for and have them actually get an education, rather than being recruited into a nihilist sex pervert death cult by some purple-haired teacher with a nose javelin and a neck tattoo and they-them pronouns. Is that enough, or should I keep going? Because I could keep going at some length. But I think you get the point. The Democrats, on the other hand, they don't seem to get the point, like at all. All of those failures of basic governance and all of those dumb policy positions and the nakedly political persecution campaign against Donald Trump, all of which the people of the country have soundly rejected. It all went into the witch's brew that added up to the Democrats taking a fairly brutal ass-kicking in the 2024 election. And they seem to be chastened by it, not at all. They haven't done any soul searching. They haven't made any attempt at understanding the reasons why they are out of power now. In fact, they don't even seem to realize they're out of power. And the fact that they've retained Hakeem Jeffries and Crying Chuck Schumer in their respective congressional leadership posts, that's a powerful testament to the fact that the Democrat Party in the 2020s is an institution that is congenitally incapable of doing any type of self-reflection. Because not only have they doubled down on all the things and people that lost them last year's election, but they've now shut down the government and kept it shut down for over 3 weeks when there's no possible end result of the thing in which their interests are advanced. I've been watching politics for a good number of decades now, as many of us have, and normally when the Democrats shut down the government, you can see what best case scenario they are shooting for. And yes, it is only ever the Democrats who shut down the government, and they always try to blame it on the Republicans, and it never works. But I am at a loss to understand what their desired outcome is with this one. So just to quickly recap, there was a bill before the House that said, let's fund the government for the next 7 weeks at the same Biden 2024 levels that were totally agreeable to the Democrats 12 months ago. And then we will have time to hammer out a new spending package that sees us through fiscal year 2025. The House passes the bill without much trouble. It goes over to the Senate, and then all of a sudden, Crying Chuck Schumer decides he wants another $1.5 trillion in woke grab bag goodies. Free healthcare for illegal aliens, transgender operas for indigenous Peruvians, LGBT democracy grants for the Eastern Balkans. All the usual Democrat stuff. Stuff they know there's not a single chance in hell they are ever going to get when they are not the party in power. Because Democrats have an exceedingly difficult time wrapping their heads around the notion that elections have consequences. And when you lose the election, that means your party isn't in power. And when your party isn't in power, that means you don't get all the money you want for all of your little pet projects. But this last-minute $1.5 trillion demand clearly wasn't a serious thing. It was just a pretext to shut down the government because they decided they wanted to shut down the government. And what did President Trump say? He said, okay, cool, thanks for that, you idiots. Because now Trump gets a golden opportunity to launch Operation Doge Part 2, Bureaucratic Boogaloo, where he can clean out every dumb, superfluous agency in the whole federal deep state, the ones that only ever existed to advance the Democrat Party's social engineering goals and provide high-paying fake jobs for the dull, unexceptional offspring of Democrat donors and office holders. Meanwhile, the Senate is still in session every day, unlike the House, because all the Democrat members are out sipping wine in a hot tub in Napa currently. And we know they're in session because they voted down the continuing resolution for the 10th time yesterday. And Chuck and Hakeem are still on MSNBC CNN each night blubbering about how we're ready to have a bipartisan negotiation to bring an end to this Republican government shutdown. And the amount of utter contempt these men have for the intelligence of the American people is just astounding, because there is no bipartisan negotiation. You guys lost the election. You are not in power. You control nothing. You are in no position to be negotiating any damn thing. You know, for a group of people who say they love our democracy so much, you guys seem to have a decidedly imperfect understanding of how our democracy works. And it's even worse for Chuck and Hakeem today than it was last week, because they can no longer hold military paychecks hostage, since evidently a few of Trump's mega billionaire pals have called him up and said, "We will cover the military pay until this thing is over. Don't you worry about it. We got your back," which is an outstanding development that I am sure the Democrats were just delighted to hear about. I can actually picture crying Chuck doing his little double-fisted cornholio pose and shouting, "Curses! Foiled again!" Just like the Scooby-Doo cartoon villain that he does such a wonderful job of playing. You know, the Republicans, and I'm no great fan of the GOP, but they at least have a functional understanding of how things work when your party is in the minority. It means you don't get everything you want, and you're not in a position to be making lavish demands, and you don't get to take your ball and go home when the party in power refuses to give you things they have no reason to give you because they won the election and you didn't. So how is the current shutdown going to end? It's going to end with 5 Senate Democrats capitulating and voting for the continuing resolution. It's going to end with Jeffries and Schumer looking impotent and humiliated. It's going to end with the Democrats getting 0 of the things they have demanded. It's going to end with their party's approval numbers, which are already the lowest ever recorded since the advent of modern polling, going even further down the commode. It's going to end with a lot of useless bureaucrats not having their fake jobs anymore. And it's going to end with a lot of normal Americans in the real world saying, "Oh yeah, the government's been shut down. I forgot all about that." Meanwhile, the U.S. taxpayer is saving tens of billions of dollars per day. No essential functions of the central government are affected, and the sombrero memes will continue in all of their glorious glory until morale improves. I'm done. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Get off my lawn.